Welcome everybody, and welcome back to Thursdays Live. And this week I thought we would try a floral. I don't believe I've done one, at least in quite a while, at any rate. But the real purpose of this is going to be being free and interpretive with the image, rather than being overly tight and trying to draw everything. These are this particular bunch here of roses is from last February, from Valentine's Day. But that's just a photo. I wanted to try something a little bit more interpretive, such as this lovely version of White Roses by Chen Chung Wei. Very expressive and very simultaneously casual, but very simultaneously descriptive. I mean, I love what he's done with the leaves here. And the thing is, they don't actually look like rose leaves. Hello, Kathy. So I think he's being painterly. Unless it's a bouquet where the other greenery was stuck in with the rose. That's always possible. But I love this little inclusion of the bit dropped there, the leaf and the petals. Here's one by a Welsh painter named Howard Jones, whose work I really like. He's almost oriental in his brushwork here, and he's letting the lovely things that happen with, it looks like probably using phthalo or viridian with one of his reds. And if you have enough water in the mix there. But the patterning here is delicious. This looks like things where he was just experimenting on the paper and then went into the image, but they work as a page, which is very oriental. Hi, Carol. Here's one by Michael, hello. Edward Wesson, a British painter. I think we lost him in the 80s, but he was one of the post-World War II most interesting British painters out there. He's better known for his landscapes, kind of East Anglia type images, but I guess, the weather isn't always good in England, and he would, but again, the wonderful, wonderful, I love just letting the paint do this. Hello, Terry. And he was famous for pretty much painting with one big mop like that for the entire painting, and I'm going to kind of try to do that. I like that feel of the calligraphic quality of it that you get. But back to this, I've tried, let's see, I'm going to get this down so that we see some of the palette. I have played around with this. I did some quick and dirties. There's things I'd like to change about that, but there are aspects of it that I enjoyed. I also did a version with showing some of the table, I don't know, with the mail or whatever it is there. But I do kind of like this curtain in the background and these shadows on the stoneware mug there. So I think this will also allow us to transition from that wet and wet thing that we did last week, particularly up in here, and kind of treat something we haven't really treated before, is soft folds in cloth, as well as crisp folds in the flowers there, and soft shadows. So the third thing I wanted to cover is when you're dealing with pinks and reds and florals, Your basic alizarin, or alizarin substitute, permanent alizarin type thing, is just not going to give you that floral pink, that cool red that goes pinkish. Of course, the Cad Red Light or the Cad Red are going to be more in the tomato red range. So what I've got squeezed out here is the Rose Madder Permanent by Daniel Smith, and it is a quinacridone Violet 19 and quinacridone Coral 209. It's red 209 and violet 19. This is just, I think, violet 19. This, quinacridone Coral, is just the red 209. So I'm going to, it's a little warmer, a little less bluer, so I'm going to squeeze a bit of it out. So we'll have the kind of the full suite here. I've taken the liberty of doing a couple of little swishes here. Well, maybe I should do it over because I think I added a little white just to see the color come out. But first, let's get into the draw, which I want to do. Hi, Kim. Oh, my goodness. How are you doing? So I want to be very, I like the slight diagonal here and about where it is. So I'm just going to lightly pencil in about where I want that to go. Or do I want that? I don't know. I kind of liked no table and just that. Yeah, no table. So this mug is a cylinder that's somewhat tapered. It's a stoneware Vermont thing. Cindy, coming from the Northeast, was very into those things. So I'm being general here. I like the handle here. It's like to me, it looks like a chicken bone sort of thing. I'm just scribbling here loosely. I like to hold the pencil down at the end so that the line has some slight organicness to it. I believe I may just, let's see. Yeah, I'm going to run the thing right off the page. Because what that does, let's get rid of that line back there. When you run something off the page, you're actually creating overlap between the object and your visual space. So it suggests, oh my goodness, yes, there's space behind this. Because one of the things, I don't know, that I always look for in a still life is because it is a shallow depth of field, we're not dealing with like a landscape here or something. It's very important to find places where overlap happens, get construction lines up, so that you give a sense of at least this shallow space. Now, the other thing I want to do before I start bombing in here and trying to draw all the complexities of these roses, I do want to be interpretive. I just want to get a general sense of the whole shape area. So it's I've got something almost of a triangle there, if you can see it. And I'm going to push that right out to the edges of the... So it's more important for to find out where that happens. And then this one kind of is it's like a figure eight sort of. And whatever helps you with that sort of thing, by all means, do it. Now within that triangle, I've got an oval. I've got a flower, or maybe two, yeah, a couple, and then one back here. And the other thing I want to do that I didn't get done here was I'd like to make a little bit more, that's a little bit too hard. I want to bring a leaf down across that, maybe more so than is going on here. And again, I am creating an abstract shape. Now this is interpretation and I want this to come out and almost touch this corner. Vivi, hello, how are you? Goodness. Now I'm nervous because Vivi is a horticulturalist extraordinaire. And she might call me on some of my shapes here or something. But the lovely thing about roses is it's actually just a tightly curled thing. So, Nanette, oh my gosh. I'm just going to go get a glass of wine or something. Now I'm really nervous. You guys. By the way, that's what I would like to try maybe next week. I just took a shot of this. Of course, the glass is very distorted from this picture. It's much narrower at the top and the base is a lot larger. But this is a wonderful drawing workout because we've got ellipses. We're not going to really deal with that in this situation today, but something that really throws people off is drawing something like this in space and getting the ellipses correct. And then also there's this lovely business happening down there. I'm going to set up something nice and we'll do that. So I'm going to try to suggest maybe I'll poke a leaf out through here to break that up a bit. There's stuff happening in here. There's petals flopping open, and so it's good to, once I've got the overall big shape, I want to find the specificity without getting too crazy of the shape. So they're sort of, actually they're like wine glasses. They're this shape, curled up, and the petals, they kind of fall off like that. So I'm going to try, this one's kind of still nice and tight, that one's kind of still nice and tight. These are tight in the middle, but they're loosening up on the outside. Who knows? Then we've got our lovely folds in our, you know, I may paint those. If I draw them, they'll be a little too hard. But I do like the fact that it was pulled open so that the window in the evening here. I'm just going to roughly indicate that's what's going to happen there. Slight curve there. So, the standard procedure. Oh, thank you, Vivi. Light colors first, darker colors as we proceed. Because I want to be a little looser and more interpretive, I might get out the more oriental brushes because, gosh, you know, what? I love stuff like that. Golly. I think I'll use this one here. It's about a number, it would be equivalent to about a 16 or something like that. So, given the fact that I'm probably going to try to leave something of the whites behind, And here. So maybe, you know, that's a little brighter. Let's get the whole thing up closer to what I'm doing. There we go. Yeah, these are lighter lights than that. Wonderful neutrals there, which you notice I left this here. I'm going to loosen that up right now, because this is a neutral made up of who knows what, all the stuff that's on here, so it cannot help but harmonize with most of what I'm going to do. So there I've got that up there and ready to go. What I can do is I can tint that a little bluer, I can tint that a little redder, I can tint that a little yellower, whatever I need to do. I do like the fact that the light's coming in from stage right, so I'm going to try to remember to have it maybe a little, it's at night, so incandescent or indoor light, yellowish to bluish, so warmish to coolish, that kind of thing. But first I want to get into my, so I'm going to go with this lovely pinkish blush color. So typically I put the runny colors down here and the slower moving colors here, but we are going to be pretty much one runny-ish consistency. So I'm squinting. Where am I seeing a lot of it? Here, a little bit back there. A lot of it in here. Bit back there with some water. Now I can just dip into my water and I can touch next to these areas and bring them down or up. Let's get a puddle going of that quinacridone coral, which I don't know if you can make it out, but it's a bit more, it's definitely not orangey, but it's more tomatoey, for lack of a better term. So I'm going to touch that in because that is still water on the surface. It's going to blend nicely. So I'm going to, there are some, use the brush on its side, use it on its tip, get Japanese about it, or Chinese, or everything back here is pinkish. Now, oh yeah, now that's not exactly pinkish. Because the light is coming from above, and because it's coming from the right, the shadows are going to tend to be in the 9 o'clock to 6 o'clock range, and I am going to get some of that Holbein lavender, which is a lovely color for this sort of thing, and I'm going to get in there and treat these areas in the bottom of them. I put a red mark there in its bottom. I'm going to put a little bit of the coral. Sorry, lavender. Now there's actually some yellowishness going on here, so I'm going to get some yellow ochre. And I'm going to touch that in. I'm trying to work quickly because it's so quickly drying. Oh yeah, particularly in here. And maybe the less I fiddle with this, maybe the better, right? Let's get some of the warmer red. Oops, warmer red. Wherever you think you're seeing it. As long as the surface that you're touching into is wet and you're bringing in something of a very similar consistency, you're going to be all right. It's going to melt in. Now, if the paint has soaked into the bluer red now, but a little stronger, if it has soaked in, it's going to not move as far, or if it's too far gone, you might actually get a blossom or a hard edge. There's a little bit of water there. About some in here. Now, we need to get into some greens because starting with yellowish greens, a little bit of turquoise and a very brilliant Mountain Dewish green is the Cad Yellow Light or Hansa Yellow Light with a little bit of turquoise. And for the lightest colors of the leaves, I am just going to bring all of my leaves into that color because I'm going to be putting a bit of darker green on top of that a little later. So let's get a little more turquoisey version of that. Just to melt again, I just applied that yellow green, and now when I put in this more turquoisey mix, there's some green up in here. Yes, yes, yes. I think I wanted to put a little up there, didn't I? Yeah, okay. Now I'm going to get down into the stoneware jug. And so I'm going to get into that neutral that I had going there. I'm going to turn it a little bluer. Maybe I'll put some of that lavender in it. Maybe I'll get a version of it going over here with a little bit of the yellow ochre. Then I'm going to go to the bluer version of it with some lavender as I move to the left. Maybe even get in there with almost some straight lavender. Because that surface I just applied, some paint to it. So there's water on the surface. And as I bring in something of a near similar consistency, let's not use turquoise. Let's use good old ultramarine. So this is, again, I'm trying to get something that's about the same consistency. Yeah, so it's going to do that. Now, what if I want this to... now there's a warm shadow coming down off of that. So I'm going to get the more yellow ochreish neutral and link up with that call it a person, a shadow person. See, that's a hard edge and I want a soft edge with a little bit of the green. So I'm going to bring wet greenishness to the side of it and let it blend that way. Now I'm looking up top and I'm looking at my pinks and reds and I'm seeing Cindy, hello. It's a little drier now, so I can get a bit more specific with some of these marks where it's darker. Because when I put these down, because that's a little drier, it's not going to move as much. Now see, that's a little too dry, a little drier than what I wanted. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to rinse the brush, blot it, and bring water to the edge of it. There we go. If I want this softer, and bring water or very loose paint to the edge of it. I'm not physically blending it. I am putting water off to the side that it can then swim into. So, yeah, I want to be It's Valentine's Day. I want to be romantic. I don't want to be like descriptive and pedantic, and more lavender with that, one of these reds. I'm going to try to get some of this lovely shadow under here. And, ooh, a lot of, well, see, I'm putting more paint. It's getting slower moving, so to get at the consistency I want, I think I'm going to have to put a wee bit of water with it. That flower is in quite a bit of shade or shadow, so it has to go into this range, as does parts of this. And I would say parts of that, and perhaps in the back here too, and maybe even along that edge. Now when I'm painting the edge right where it hits the white paper, but because this area is wet, it's swimming over there. The shadow there is, let's get some yellow ochre and some indigo or something blackish to get a olive, dark olive. There is a very dark olive edge here on that shadow, and I think it's just basically picking up a bit of nearby greens or something, who knows. Again, I'm painting by the edge, so it should come over. Now, let's drink up some of that. This is drying up a bit because I haven't painted there for several seconds. I can start getting into some of these dark greens. So my darkest green, I'm going to be able to get out of the Prussian blue, which is a dark color already. And I've got burnt umber, which will give me a green. I've also got this nickel azo yellow. That's a little too bright, so I really want, or saturated. So really the burnt umber, which has a ever so slightly yellowish undertone. In fact, I probably should have gone with the, well, let's start with that. Up under, I have not drawn these leaves exactly. I have not drawn these flowers exactly. So what I want to do is I want to look at what have I created here, and where are my shapes, and what is going to support them well. I need some dark in here, because I can use these darks to frame these shapes. And that's what interpretation is about. See, it's a little wetter there, so it's going to bleed. You're doing what the picture needs, not what you see in the photo or the reference, or if you're standing outside or whatever you're looking at. So now that's a little bit wetter because I was just there, so I'm going to avoid that for the moment. Let's put a little more blue into this. Let's get some ultramarine. And I'm going to, let's see, I hope, let's get some turquoise even. Notice I'm not mixing these in one spot. I'm putting a little over here, a little over here, a little over here. So I've got a range of greens that I can dip into or modify as I see fit. There's a shadow cast by the flower onto the leaf. And then some of that comes down here, but I have shortened that distance enormously. So I didn't mention why I did that. I felt like this width and that width, we're getting a little too equal. So I hope I'm a better painter than I am a floral designer. So Vivi, you could help me out here. So in here now, again, my big task, the thing that I want to accomplish is creating interesting shapes and frame the shapes that I have made in a complementary fashion. Now that white sticking out there, it's crying out for some shade. And I do recommend that you look up other watercolors to do these. Oh my gosh, we live in a wonderful time. There's a very pale greenish ghosty, so I'm going to go with lavender and a little bit of yellow, which gives me a ghosty green. So I'm kind of trying to frame my pinks. Going back into here, let's get it something very dark. Going to go with the Prussian and the burn umber. Squinting, just looking at what I've done or what's happening when I do this. What does that make? Yeah, see, that's still very wet. I want to do this, some of what's happening down under here. That would all be pretty much in shade, so rather than use the lavender, which will be the shadow on the petals, I'm going to use the turquoise, which will be the green shadow. Put a little bit of that in there. And I think I need to reinforce some of that area, so a little bit more of this burn umber in that green. Join that. Join that. Now I want to reinforce these shadow areas down here on the vase or the stoneware jug. Get my neutrals. Let's get them a little bit more bluish with the lavender. Well, let's get some yellow ochre in there. Lavender and yellow ochre make a wonderful, wonderful natural color. Now, as I come to the left, I need to peter out or taper that. So I'm rinsed and slightly blotted the brush, and I'm bringing water to the edge of it. And then I'm going to put a bit more of the blue into it. Let's even get a little bit of cerulean. And down the side we go. Maybe toy with a bit of it over here. Let's see. There should be a bit of that on the lip, right? Okay. Now, we're up to where we're going to work on our background. So I want to be careful. I just painted down here. That's probably going to, hello, Wendy. That's probably going to be dangerous to paint something in here. It is kind of deeper, so I'm going to go lighter to darker, yellower, warmer to cooler, bluer. So let's just start up in there. Top, we haven't painted up there for a while, so that's the safest place to paint. You're always having to gauge, where have I been? And if you're a little bit can't remember, trying to figure out where the heck was I, just put your head sideways, get the image between you and the light source, and look for any glisten. Now you can see a lot of glisten here when I got my head over here, and because the light is above me and from my right. While I'm looking at it, I'm going to touch some strong Prussian blue right into there, because it's ever so slightly wet. And it's going to be like the whipped cream on the hot cocoa. So that I'm just sticking right into the paint and putting into that wet surface. So it moves, the edge softens, but it stays pretty much where I stuck it. Let's keep that. There. Now that should be, what should that be? It should be a lighter green, so we're going to wait. Well, should I? Yeah, we'll put it there. Here too. Here too, yeah. There we go. Let's quit fiddling with that and do what we were talking about. Neutral. Big, lovely neutral. Let's say we wanted to make a neutral out of that. It's green, right? So that means we have to get some red in there. Now that might be too much. Of course it is. So let's get a greenish blue in there, like turquoise. So now it's get, ooh, I like that. I'm probably going to use that for my neutral on this side. I need a warmer neutral here, and this is, so let's put a little bit of burnt sienna in it. And we're just going to whoop in there. We're not painting our folds yet. And then we're going to switch to this. More blue, more turquoise. The world's greatest color, cobalt turquoise. Because this is very wet, the mix, these colors are going to separate beautifully. So I'm going to get a lot of turquoise, a little bit of burnt umber to neutralize it, because burnt umber, as well as being a yellow, is also sort of a red. Now, down here, could be getting into trouble, especially if I get over close to the vase. So that I'm going to bring down right to that. I did not mention that this was a 140-pound piece of cold press, I believe Milford. Let's get a little warmer still. I'm going to put some yellow ochre into the mix. Whoa. Coming down here. Now this is a watercolor, and that's what I'm liking. I don't do that enough, and I'm trying to make myself do it. At the end of the day, I'm really still an oil painter or a pastel painter or something. So let's even get a little bit of brilliant yellow into that to speak to, it's not there in the image, but to speak to what's in here. Because at the end of the day, and I'm going to put a little of that up here as well. At the end of the day, this rectangle has to be attractive. It doesn't have to look like that. I'm the only person that has this picture on my iPad. Nobody else is ever going to see that. So this has to look good, because people could see that, right? So a little bit of that on this side of the handle even. Work into that. Okay, now, while this is, it's some water on the surface. I'm getting my head over on the left side. You can see a bit of glisten, drinking out those dangerous spots. I'm going to take just like, thank you, Carol. Just like we were doing last week with the Nocturne, we're going to get a denser, thicker mix of paint. We're going to get some ultramarine, and we'll mix it up here so we can see, and some of that burn umber. See, that's not moving, or at least it's not moving too fast. We're going to start painting our folds in our cloth. Let's get more burn umber in it on one side and less burn umber on the other side. Now the folds are essentially stripes, right? So what we want to do is make sure that they are not equal. Well, I need some more burnt umber in there. So I'm going to start framing my, so I don't want the spacing of these to be like bars on a jail cell. Okay, now that is very wet, right? Hey, Kay Britt, how are you doing? Stick right into our ultramarine, our burn umber. Touch right in there. See if I can make like a rolled edge on that thing. Right into these. That has to come sort of in that vicinity. Let's get a little more, let's get some purple. Dioxazine purple. Look at it, turned it black. It's a weird color. So we'll have to get, whenever you get a weird color, throw some turquoise in it and it'll become something beautiful. I don't know what it is about cobalt turquoise, but you cannot mix an uninteresting color with that. Anything you stick it with is going to look neat. Now, I want even more. See, that's very wet, so I'm putting in blue of a similar consistency to what's on the surface. I'm going to have to mop up what's down there at the bottom too, so that that really drops back and frames the stoneware mug there. And maybe I'll put a little of that in at the top. See that soft edge on this side, soft edge on that side? It's been a little while since we painted there, a few seconds really. Kate's asking what paper. This is a 140-pound cold press, and I'm pretty sure it's the Milford, which is Saunders Waterford's claim they did to reproduce the famous paper that everybody used in the early 19th century, what was it called? Wattman. Thing is, nobody has a piece of it, so we don't know what it's really like. Maybe they do, I don't know. So because that had been painted on before, I can make one side a little harder and let it bleed into the other side. Now that's too wet. So if I want to get another fold in behind there, I got to wait. But the key thing here, Kate, is 100% cotton paper. It's any brand of 100% cotton paper will outperform any brand of wood pulp paper. And then don't let me get on my soapbox here as to why it is far more sustainable option. I'm just going to let this soften. Dragging some of that water over there. I want to keep my sharp edges up here and my soft edges in the background. Now this has gotten it's cool to the touch still. So I need to get my warm, let's get some yellow ochre in there. Jabbering too much here. But I love questions. Close, far. Now let's say a fold. We want one side of the fold to be crisp, we want the other side to be soft. So get a little water into the same stuff you used. Bring it to the edge. To it, but not through it. I got a t-shirt that says that. We got a problem there. There's going to have to be a darker going in there. Let's do something similar that's got a little red in it. Or I should, neutral. If you need a neutral red, go to your burnt sienna or your burnt umber. Don't try to take your reds down, your strong reds down. So I'm going to let that be the crisp edge and this the soft edge, just to reverse things. So a little bit of water in the same stuff. To it, but not through it. Now I've got the window coming in over here, so I'm going to try and add that. A lot of water collecting here. Squeeze, drink it out, so I don't get a blossom that goes uphill. They'll do that. They will do that. This still shiny, so I can't do in there. Let's get some ultramarine. Burnt umber. More water. More ultramarine. I'm looking for a consistency. That's the whole thing. Everybody worries about what color is it? What are you mixing? What are you getting? I could get here with several different colors. What I'm looking for is a consistency. It's moving, but kind of slowly. Now I'm going to worry about the color. So blue, red, I want to take it violet. Is it moving? Yeah, it moves like the consistency I want. I want to frame don't want to start where that is. I want to start below where that is. Frame this white shape. This is the window looking out to where the tree frogs are. Let's get purplier still, a little more of the red. Slow moving, but okay, let's get some strong. We haven't used our alizarin before, but it will give us a good purple. It's just not going to give us that floral rosy color. And when I do a shape, if it's going top to bottom and it's long, hello Lisa, I'm trying to do something that will prevent it from being the same color one end to the other. I want it to be some variation, because just psychologically we tend to think when something changes along its length, it's space. So there's that neutral, and that edge is a little clumsy, so I'm just going to bring it to it, but not through it. Now over here, it's still very glistening, and I would like to echo some of this business here over there. And then I also need to soften that a bit so it curls into, I'm bringing it right to it so it curls around like as if it, well, not as if it were, because it is a curtain. Duh. Talk much, John? Oh, okay. Now, I'm waiting on there. So, looking for the sheen. I want it to just about go off before I stick some strong purple. Let's make it first, so I'm ready to go. So I do like to have a bit of change left to right, top to bottom, but I do also like to have a bit of echo. See, what I'm sticking into is basically the same consistency. The water on the surface, the paint on the surface is the same consistency as the paint I'm bringing to it. So now I'm going to do my echoes. Okay, we're almost there. There we go. Yeah. See how that more or less stays put? Shouldn't have done that. What can I do? Let's get some burn umber. Some of that. Get in there. Now there you see I went from a cold color to a warmer color to get a bit of difference. Some of that up here, some of that up there, but it's too stark, so I have to bring a damp brush to the side of it to give it some water to swim into. And now I'm going to do something like that up here. Jenny, hello! A little bit of turquoise in this. This needs to be runnier. I want to frame this. Well, there's some paint right there. I should just bring it up. So I want to frame that. Yeah, there we go. There we go. Yep, yep. Was waiting for me. Okay, now I want to get into. So far, we've used Myrna. Yeah, that is funny. Myrna from, Wapello, somewhere out near Washington. I'm not sure where she lives. Is vacationing in California and ran into somebody, camped next to somebody from Jefferson County. How about that? Small world. That happened to me. My gosh. 2008. at Glacier National Park on the Going to the Sun road. And you have to pull over when one of the park road repair vehicles comes by. And right next to us, somebody from Jefferson County. Now, I'm going to start getting a little in here and here. This is a very, very slow-moving mix of Prussian and burnt umber. So I am using my darks, I hope, to create a strong frame for my flowers. And this is where you can get carried away. It can get too much fun. I need to strengthen the shadows in there. So I need that turquoisey, yellow ochre, dull neutral greenish sort of a little bit goes a long way. More ochre. Going to start it here, take some water, rinse the brush, blot it, carry it down. Same thing there. Glaze it, rinse the brush, blot it, peter it out. Now I'm just going to take and get into my cool reds and just do some oh dear. Same thing as the folds. I want to have one side of the shape soft and one side soft. So this side is the left side is going to be hard and the right side I want soft. So I'm going to take a damp brush and a little bit of the paint. I'm going to tease it out like that. Maybe up here too. Down where it's going into the cup of the rose, I want it to be darker and a little lighter as it comes out. Same over here. Very, very, very dark right in its little middle. I'm sure there's a word for it. You'll have to tell me what that is, Vivi. Side of a petal. Neutralize. Ooh, take my neutral, mix it with my pink to get a pink that's a little further away. And there we go. I think I'm crazy if I fiddle around with it anymore. He says, about to do something he'll be sorry for. I'm looking at that handle again. I want to... I've got it downstairs. I keep kitchen utensils in it now. I can just feel the thing picking it. That looks funky. I need to do something there. My pinks. I want this to be a petal that is folded up and then rolling back. So that edge is hard. Bring the water to it so it can swim so it's soft. And then that needs to be darker. So let's get that lavender, get into that pink. Oh yeah, shadows. There we go. Let's detape. Well, thank you, Kathy. I am trying to get away from being so whitey-tighty and more interpretive. And yeah, I'm doggone it. Maybe come February, when the flowers are nice, we'll get some more going. Yeah, I think I want to look this over, let it dry, and not do anything to it until it's dry and I think about what I like to do. But the interpretive thing, rather than trying to paint these folds just so and the petals just so, and I can see that I want to do something to that leaf there. It's a little weird, and maybe this one too. In fact, I can see something I can do to it right now. I'll just put there we go. This one is going to want something similar to that. And I think I'm probably going to want to darken that little area right there to frame that. Okay, yeah, that's enough. Thank you, Jan. Thank you, Carol. Yeah, always give yourself some time to look at a thing, but only watercolor will do that. Or that. You can get close to it with oils and stuff, but it's a lot of work, whereas the watercolor wants to do it for you. So yeah, I'm going to leave it at this, and then when this is all very dry, I can erase the pencil marks and let it be nice like that. Another thing I was thinking about talking about but didn't do is you could, if you wanted to preserve some very fine little light edges, with these white waxy China marker pencils, draw like a spiral, and then it's kind of a resist. So it would, that's quick and dirty, but I mean, you get the idea what you could do there with something like that. And then you could paint like a darker red here, or you could, lift out some of that. But you want to be careful, because the thing about anything in that color range, these fuchsia type colors, they're small particle pigments. They just really aren't going to lift much because they're sinking down into the interstices of the paper. But there it is, interpretive stuff, building a little bit on the wet and wet that we were doing last week. I hope you guys enjoyed that. I did. Next week, I think I want to try something. Well, there's a wonderful edge work. I mean, the things that are going on there, or in there, or right in there, and that kind of thing. Oh my gosh, I'm really going to have to practice on that, but I think it's just fun to do these sort of things. Thank you, Britt. But also this, and again, I say this, it's distorted because when I took the photo here, the ellipses are very much off, and the shape of that glass is very, very off. But ellipses in space, I think, is a good thing to concentrate on, and edge control, that sort of thing. And it's fun to learn how to paint clear things, glass, that sort of thing. But thank you guys for tuning in. I hope you have a safe, wonderful week. and stay safe, stay sane, and no small thing these days. And bye-bye.